A show of support for the firefighters working around the clock to protect our state. Hot weather and high winds making things pretty difficult. Nearly 70,000 acres have burned in just the last week. We have the latest straight ahead at 5. The pride of Denver South, NFL star Calais Campbell, is now dealing with an unthinkable tragedy. We're going to update you on the investigation into his mother's killing. And Denver politics rocked by a seismic primary election last night. After 15 terms in office, Denver Congresswoman Diana DeGette is given the boot in favor of a Democratic socialist, Melat Kiros. Other Democrats who won last night are now reckoning with her stance on Israel. Thanks for watching 9 News at 5, everyone. I'm Phil Lipoff. 2 runaway wins on primary night for 2 very different kinds of Democrats here in Colorado. Our Kyle Clark just spoke with Phil Weiser and Melat Kiros.
Yep, Weiser being the Democratic nominee for governor, who will be the overwhelming favorite to win in November, and Kiros, who replaces 15-term Congresswoman Diana DeGette, representing Denver in Congress. Different races, different groups of voters, and 2 Democrats with very different views about Israel, an issue at the center of that congressional primary. Kiros has received criticism from across the country for comments that she made in a recent 9 News interview where she declined to call the firebombing of Jews in Boulder an act of anti-Semitism. Kiros said she didn't know what was in the heart of the attacker. Some have called those comments anti-Semitic. Phil Weiser speaks frequently about how his family survived the Holocaust, and he regularly condemns rising anti-Semitism. I asked these 2 leaders of the Colorado Democratic Party if they plan to talk about this one-on-one.
What happened on June 1st in Boulder was an anti-Semitic attack. I knew Karen Diamond. She was a supporter and a friend. I know Lou Diamond, who's now a widow. We cannot look at that murder and say anything else happened than a hate crime. And so if someone isn't going to acknowledge that, I'm concerned about that. Jewish lives matter. Karen Diamond's life mattered. You don't put a comma, an and or a but, period. That's the message, and I haven't sat down with her, but when we have a conversation and if this June 1st attack comes up, that's my view.
I just spoke with Attorney General Phil Weiser, who won the Democratic primary for governor last night. He has some real concerns about things that you have said about Israel, and in particular about the firebombing of Jewish people in Boulder. And he told me that he would like to sit down and have a conversation with you so that you can hear where he's coming from and he can hear where you're coming from. Are you open to that?
Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, what happened in Boulder was a horrific attack on a group of Jewish people that were peacefully protesting. And we are seeing that the actions of Israel are putting Jewish people at grave danger. And the hate and the anti-Semitism that's rising as a result of it is one that I have every intention of prioritizing and combating. And I really look forward to sitting down with Phil Weiser to figure out how we can work together to combat that hate.
So a willingness to talk, but no personal relationship of trust, Phil, in which to kind of begin that conversation between 2 people who are now going to be leading Democrats in Colorado for the foreseeable future.
And it's not just an issue between these 2, it's an issue across the whole country right now. Got to ask you about the race that's still undecided.
Yep, this is the Republican gubernatorial primary, and here's the deal. It is too close to call. Like, for real, too close to call. Hopefully people know I'm not just going to say that to hedge until the boss gives us the okay, because I just come out and tell you what it's going to do. But the race between Barb Kirkmeyer and Victor Marks truly is neck and neck, separated by less than 1,000 votes. It is likely headed for an automatic recount. There's a 3rd candidate in the GOP primary, Scott Bottoms, who is pulling up the rear.
So you said as we went into this night that this was going to be the most interesting and consequential primary in, what, a decade or something? It live up to it?
Oh, absolutely it did, right? I mean, Phil Weiser's win over Michael Bennet was absolutely enormous. It was not close. It was a referendum win from Democratic voters. And the GOP primary, in which Victor Marks claimed to be this enormous frontrunner, now neck and neck with Barb Kirkmeyer, who could barely raise any money. There's big implications there. If nothing else, if Victor Marks doesn't win this race, Coloradans may never get to find out how many people he's killed. That's still an outstanding question that we've been asking him. And if he becomes a private citizen a week from now, I can't knock on his door and ask him how many people he's killed. That's rude.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I would.
No,
wouldn't do it.
That question and answer had a lot of legs.
A lot of people around the country saw that.
Saw that on every comedy show.
Yep, so we wait and see on that race.
All right, Kyle, thank you. In Denver, police are investigating a shooting this afternoon near 20th and Pennsylvania. Police tell us 1 person was hurt. They're being treated at the hospital at this hour. It is not clear how serious their injuries are, and there is no information right now about a suspect. The photos from the front lines of Colorado's wildfire fight are devastating. Here are a few of them. This is from southern Colorado, where the Aspen Acres continues its rapid growth today. It is now more than 35,000 acres. For reference, we're talking about 54 square miles. It is burning uncontained. Fire managers say their goal right now is to try to stop the fire from growing any further, obviously, and to protect homes that are in danger. Several towns are completely evacuated, including Beulah, Rye, and San Isabel. The Snyder Fire near the Utah border has not grown much in the last 24 hours, and that is certainly some welcome news. It's burned, though, more than 30,000 acres in total. Firefighters now have 10% containment on this, we're told. Officials plan to hold a community meeting tomorrow night to update people on the firefight. Today in Leadville, emergency crews are going door to door in pre-evacuation zones around the Willow Fire. They are just trying to make sure everyone is ready to leave when they need to at a moment's notice. The evacuation zone has not grown in the last 24 hours, but we have seen the town of Leadville mobilize. The local Elks Lodge and at least one restaurant are offering free food for first responders. I want to bring in Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin right now. And Kathy, you know, when we have devastating fires like this, we look for perhaps the weather to help out, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, the weather not helping out today, tonight, or tomorrow. Some signs that things may be changing, but not for several days and maybe at least another week. We have windy, warm conditions. We have that poor air quality with that dense smoke about the area. And then again, we just have the tinder, dry condition with temperatures in the 80s and 90s across eastern Colorado, and that temperature trend will trend warmer for the next few days. We're in the single digits and lower teens in regard to the humidity levels, and so as we watch the winds increase out of the south and southwest, that tends to dry out those fuels even further, and it does send those flames and the smoke traveling quicker from the southwest to the northeast. So fire weather warnings remain in effect for a large portion of west and southwestern Colorado, the foothill areas west of I-25, west of Denver, south to Castle Rock, Kiowa, and Elizabeth. Tinder dry conditions and poor air quality from multiple pollutants. Wildfire smoke is the #1 culprit, but high levels of ground ozone also something that those with respiratory issues and those sensitive will need to be mindful of. Multiple fires burning across our state. Southwest winds will take that smoke to the north and northeast. Some days will be better than others, and we'll have all of that in detail with our extended forecast coming up.
As to count 2, perjury in the first degree, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
It has been a little more than a week since the disgraced DNA analyst pleaded guilty to 4 felonies, and still the fallout continues. Among that guilty admission by Missy Woods was her lying about DNA results in 2013 in a Lakewood murder. Ryan Hicks is serving a life sentence without parole in the death of his housemate. Now, Hicks's attorney has taken the first step in what could lead to a new trial. Kevin Vaughn from 9 News Investigates joins us from the newsroom. Kevin, you've been following this case for quite some time. We knew there was going to be fallout like this. Missy Woods, in this particular case, lied when she testified about something really important.
Yeah, Phil, she testified that the genetic profile she turned over during the trial was the only DNA testing that she did. Now the man's lawyer asserts that the actual truth could set him free. It was May 2013, and no one could find David Noren. Evidence at the Lakewood home where he was living suggested a struggle and serious injuries. Then,
a developing story in Clear Creek County where a body has been found along Fall River Road.
The body of the missing man, and a focus on his housemate, Ryan Hicks. When Hicks went to trial, a key witness was Colorado Bureau of Investigation DNA analyst Missy Woods, who testified that the dead man's DNA was on Hicks's shoes, and that Hicks's DNA was on shoes found near the body. When she was asked whether she did other genetic testing,
Ms. Woods knowingly gave a materially false answer to this question while under oath.
The truth, investigators found, was that Woods changed the quantities of genetic material found on a piece of evidence in the case and failed to disclose that she found DNA. That undisclosed DNA was in addition to an unknown genetic profile found on the victim's belt. Now a lawyer for Hicks is seeking all the evidence in the case and preparing a fight to have his conviction overturned.
The fallout's just beginning. This motion filed in the Hicks case is probably just the start of attacks on convictions in which she testified.
9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson says Hicks's attorney has a strong argument.
Still more DNA that was not analyzed correctly, in fact, where the facts were falsified. That's huge.
For now, Hicks remains behind bars on a life sentence. It's not clear how soon a judge will rule on his attorney's efforts to get access to the files in the case, or when his lawyer will challenge his conviction. A spokeswoman for Jefferson County District Attorney Alexis King said the files won't be turned over unless the judge in this case does order them to do that. That's necessary, she said, to protect the case against Woods, who's scheduled to be sentenced on September 8th. She faces between 8 and 16 years in state prison. Live in the newsroom, Kevin Vaughn, 9 News.
And Kevin, as Scott just said, we do expect there to be more of this.
Yeah, absolutely. There are all kinds of defense attorneys that are analyzing cases in which Woods was either involved in DNA testing or testified, and it will not be surprising if there are more motions forthcoming from people seeking a review of their convictions.
All right, Kevin Vaughn, thank you. In Georgia, police are investigating the murder of 71-year-old Natil Campbell, the mother of former Denver South football standout Calais Campbell. Campbell most recently played professional football in Atlanta. His brother is charged with their mother's death. Officials say he's been suffering from schizophrenia. Atlanta police say they received 10 calls for service to the family's address in just the last 9 months.